Hello, Pillow Fort friends! We hope you're ready to say goodbye to January because, with little more than a blink, the month is nearly over. Before it ends, though, we're bringing you our thoughts on one of our more anticipated releases this month, and that's Aloft. Now, I was incredibly excited for this title, and while I have some good things to say about it, I also have a few takes from the opposite side of the spectrum. But we'll get to those thoughts in a moment. I want to first give the team a huge thanks for providing us a key to check out the game. Though, since this game is multiplayer, we did end up buying a second copy so that Derek and I could experience the game co-op. While we had a few good hours of fun with it, the early access tag that Aloft wears shined way too brightly into our faces. It's obvious that this one needed a bit longer in the game development oven to provide an optimal experience. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's do what we do best here at the Pillow Fort and break it down. We'll start with the story, which doesn't really exist. It's not supposed to, though, and I'll defend that point as this is an open-world survival-esque game. The story that we do get is in the form of stones, anchors, and mysterious plaques strewn about the world. They give us insight into what the world was like prior to its post-apocalyptic state and teach us critical crafting recipes that will help us along our journey. I didn't go into this game expecting any story-rich style of gameplay, and I wasn't disappointed that it wasn't there either. We do get a map table pretty early on in the game that we can place down on our home island. Its purpose is to point you forward on your journey by highlighting specific areas around the map with key crafting recipes and resources that are necessary to journey deeper into the giant storm swirling around you. That is the story. Of course, there are small bits and pieces more than that, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. Needless to say, if you're someone who needs the story element in games, you're not going to find it here. Before we get into any positives or negatives, let's dive into the gameplay. The entire point of Aloft is to strap some sails onto an island of your choosing and pilot it around the map to different floating islands. These islands vary in size, and their environment will either be entirely corrupted, needing you to defeat some giant mushrooms in order to cleanse it, or partially damaged, requiring you to add some mix of plant life diversity or perhaps abandon a cute animal on it to help restore its ecosystem. Some of the islands won't need you to intervene and are still perfectly healthy. On these, you can adventure around, picking up whatever your heart desires to use as resources to build up your home island. Cut down trees, break rocks, pick flowers and other plant life, and yes, even find cute fluff balls wandering around that you can feed and kidnap for your own island. Animals provide resources like wool, and you will need them if you plan on getting deeper into the storm, as the leaf sails you start with aren't prepared for the heavier winds waiting further in. Once you're tired of exploring the islands, you can just spend an hour building and decorating your own home. Whether that's a multi-tiered mansion, an extensive farming area with animal pastures, or, as Derek did, building a network of stairs that will allow you to dock your island much more successfully at every future stop you make. There are enough building options in the game to go ham designing whatever you see fit. And believe me when I say that whether it works in the laws of physics doesn't matter. So you build that floating platform off your island and don't let anyone question you for it. In terms of additional things to do aside from island adventuring or home decorating, currently there's not a lot. You can work on optimizing and automating your storage systems or diving straight off your platform to get some fun flying achievements. But other than that, the gameplay loop starts and ends with this. Now that you have a good idea of the experience Aloft offers, we want to jump into our feedback. Obviously, this game is still in early access, so we're going to be gentle. That being said, there were a lot of things that started to really disrupt our gameplay by 8 hours in. And as we boast being an honest and dependable source of game news and reviews, we're giving it to you straight. We got bored. Yes, sadly, by hour 8, we didn't feel much compelling us to keep playing. There was some mystery of what was waiting in the center of the storm, but we were utterly unable to get past the repetitive nature of this game. Now, as a couple that spent 100 hours in Enshrouded, we are not new to this genre and have no problem doing repetitive tasks when they feel fun and offer some variance the longer you play. However, that wasn't the case with Aloft. In fact, the longer we played, the more disappointed we were to see that the islands felt the same. Go to an island that's corrupted, whack a big mushroom tree a few times, smack down a few mushroom mobs with incredibly basic combat tactics, and call it good. After it's cleansed, take the recipes, add them to your home, rinse, repeat. Sometimes you come across an island that needs its ecosystem repaired, drop a few bugs, plant a few plants, take the recipes, repeat. The bigger problem for me is that all the islands are essentially the same. If they finally diversify the deeper you go in, I wouldn't know, because we'd already explored 40 islands that all shared the same biome, with the only variance being that sometimes there might be a new crop or a furry critter waiting for you. I would have loved to see a savanna island, a desert island, or an ocean island, but it was all the same 9 types of plants, 2 types of trees, and overly flowery grass no matter where we went. The next largest problem was the incredibly unsteady frame rates, specifically on the corrupted islands. My PC can run Dragon Age the Veilguard, a AAA title with immense graphic demand, on Ultra. I turned down Aloft to medium and was still rocking a solid 30 FPS, attempting to beat up annoying mushrooms. What's worse is that these islands are utterly polluted with flora to the point where, if you're playing in first person, which was the only way I found myself enjoying it, you can't see 2 feet in front of you, and usually an enemy is whacking you in the face, or the back. And with a horrible frame rate, well, let's just say I died more times in Aloft than I ever did in a game like Enshrouded. I'm not inept when it comes to combat, believe me. But the broken experience in this one definitely made me question myself. What made me stop questioning myself was watching Derek die in equal amount. That man has beaten impossible roguelikes and even a few Souls-likes, so if he can't get through it, well, it's a problem. I wish my feedback stopped there, but the system of acquiring recipes and building them on your base also felt wonky and out of order. I'd acquired the ability to make wool sails multiple hours before finding the loom. If you're the type to explore every single island, like us, then it's going to take you a while to get to the major upgrades, and that feels painful. I want to feel like there's a point to going to every single little island, but for now, I just don't. Towards the end of the playthrough, we started following only the points of interest, and that's what got us what we needed. But then left with the question, why bother with the other islands? Sure, there are more recipes to be found, but not enough to necessarily make it feel worth it either. Honestly, I could continue on with how I find it annoying that there are 3 different building menus, complain about the multiplayer system not saving Steam profiles and having to constantly enter codes or retrust your friends so that they can teleport to you. Or that it's still quite buggy to the point where you'll have a goat on your roof leaving manure in places you'd really hate to find it. But at this point, I think I'm happy leaving it at this. Aloft is still in early access, and there's a lot that needs to be improved upon before I think it worth the hefty $25 price tag. If we hadn't have received a key and had to pay $50 for 2 copies, I definitely would have been a bit bummed. Now, EA means that things will be improved over time, and Derek and I do plan on waiting for its full 1.0 release before checking it out again. But that's where we're going to leave it. I can't in good faith recommend this one to our community yet, but I suppose if you really love the idea of sailing your own island base around the skies and collecting resources, recipes, and animals, even though the diversity of that experience is lacking, then maybe you should give it a try and support the development. If you're not someone who finds that to be a highly engaging experience, then it's likely better to wait it out for right now. All in all, we're hopeful for Aloft's future, and I still think it has some great potential on the horizon. And if it can work out the graphic issues and provide a more stable and diversified experience, then I'd likely change my opinion pretty quickly. In terms of the island sailing and home building, it's a pretty fun experience. But it's nothing revolutionary, offering a similar experience to many other things already in my Steam library, so I wouldn't buy it for just that either. Needless to say, we'll keep our eyes on it. If and when it gets some major updates, we'll be sure to jump back into it and give it a fresh pair of eyes. Of course, you can count on us keeping you updated when that happens as well. For now, we'll leave you with that, but feel free to share your own thoughts on Aloft in the comments or ask any questions you might have. We're always happy to answer. Make sure if you enjoyed the video to give that thumbs up button a good click. And if you want to stay updated with oodles of gaming news and thorough yet honest reviews, then maybe click the subscribe button too. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.